Today on Aviation Explainer, we'll sit back and we will discuss the Australian aviation industry and how it could be improved and how bad it actually is at the moment. So please sit back, relax, and enjoy the amazing video that's about to come. So as a lot of people may know, in Australia there is the three main airlines. You have Qantas, Jetstar, and Virgin Australia. And Qantas owns Jetstar as a subsidy. So, as a lot of you may know or may not know about the aviation industry, when an airline owns another airline, they work hand in hand to make things better for each other. This also causes big issues in Australia because, unlike other countries, we only have three airlines, and when two of them are owned by the one company, it removes competition. So, it's really Qantas Group, which is Qantas and Jetstar, versus Virgin Australia, which hold a 98% market share, which is really cutting out the competition in the sense that in this year alone, we have lost Rex and Bonza. So if you look at it in that perspective, we only have three airlines and they don't share the market space. And it really just kills our lower standards of money, how much money we do pay for airfares. And that's why we are paying $400 per airfare, where in Europe, you have Ryanair, for example, and they do it really cheap. Now, I understand there's a lot more people in Europe, which means it's easier for them to get cheaper fares, but it just doesn't make sense. In Australia, we should be able to have cheaper fares. Jetstar isn't that cheap. The only reason they pay like $200 for Jetstar is because Qantas charges $400, and that's about half. So, I will continue to explain this a lot further, and I will also give you my three reasons why I believe the aviation industry in Australia could change and be better. My first idea for changing the Australian aviation industry would be doing what America does. America has a 20% rule, which essentially means no airline can have more than a 20% market share on all domestic routes. For example, you have JetBlue, which has JFK or John F. Kennedy Airport as their hub. That is what they call their fortress. That is where all of their flights or a lot of their flights originate and terminate from, and they fly to wherever they need to go. For example, United Airlines has San Francisco. That is their main hub. That is where a lot of their flights are. They're like the big airline at that place. If we were to put this into perspective for an Australian airline or Australian carriers, how it would work is you would have Qantas have their main big hub at Sydney Airport. A lot of the routes out of Sydney will be run by them to anywhere in Australia. There will still be flights into Sydney and out of Sydney flown by other aircraft and airlines such as Virgin and Rex and Qantas and Jetstar, but a lot of them will be Qantas, and that is their fortress. That's where they have a really strong foothold on that airport. If you were to look at it as well, you could look at it from the Virgin side of things. Virgin's hub could be Melbourne. They fly all their flights out of Melbourne and into Melbourne, and that's where they have a strong point of contract, and that's where all of their flights terminate and arrive from. If that's how Virgin was to do it, it would make Virgin's strong point Melbourne Airport. If Jetstar was to take Brisbane and Jetstar was to become its own airline, which I'll explain later, that would mean Jetstar's main strong point would be Brisbane. All their flights out of Brisbane. It would give you a stronger competition. And I also believe that if Australia did do a 20% rule, maybe even a 30% rule, where no airline can have more than 30% market share, it would boost airlines, because it means that all these airlines we have, or the three of them that we do have, would have to drop back how much they do in the Australian aviation market to make way for new emerging carriers, which would give us competition, which would push the prices lower. That's one reason I believe we could do to change the Australian aviation industry. I will now continue with my second idea. My second idea for the Australian aviation industry would be to make Jetstar have to be sold off by the Qantas Group. Qantas Group must sell Jetstar. This would boost competition, meaning you have a third carrier which will push the prices lower. This also gives you more routes. Having three airlines but two of them are owned by one, it means there's less competition and less routes because they just fly where they want to fly. If you had this third airline, it'd give you more boosting, and it would also give you the competition on the routes you already have. I see this working, and I can see this making sense in the sense that Jetstar already has aircraft. Jetstar is already financially viable. It is making aircraft, it is making new routes, it is completing what it needs to do by itself. The only difference is a lot of its business comes from Qantas when Qantas cancels a flight. So it's just double money. And how I see it, and this could be so much better for the Australian aviation industry. Having 3 carriers, all separate, all alone, working to make their own thing and make like all for themselves. I could just see this boosting the Australian aviation industry so much more. Now, if there is any questions, and I understand I may not have explained this well, but if you have any questions, please put it in the comments. I'll try and answer it in my next video. And also just, give me ideas for the next video, because like I don't know what you guys want to hear about. And like, if I can give you insight into something that I know that I could put into a video for you guys to understand more, I'd be more than willing to do that. So please respond and like give me ideas for the next video. Hoping to release one about Wednesday and then the next one on Saturday. Thank you. Thank you again to everyone that's given me photos. You will be shouted out in the comment section and also down in the video description. As I said, I would like to release another video on Wednesday and hopefully another one on Saturday. And other than that, thank you for listening to Aviation Explainer this week. Hope to see you all again next week.